It says January, it looks like this. January 2017. So we made it all the way to question 27. We finished that one. So we're going to jump in at 28. We started this exam review. And remember that I'm making up the questions from the past exams, and that link is on the Google Classroom. Okay, log 6 equals P, log 5 equals R, and log 2 equals Q. Express log 60. 28. There's no page numbers. So express log 60 in terms of P, Q, and R. So super easy. It's a 2-mark question. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to break down 60 into factors that are 5s, that are 5, 2, and 6s. The number 60. You have. You've done it a million times. You've done this. That's just called a factor tree. And the reason why I used it is because I broke 60 down into 6 and 10, but I have no information for log 10. I only have information for log 5 and 2. So what am I doing? So really what I'm doing is I'm taking 6 times 5 times 2, right? And that should give me 60. It does. Okay? No? So we're going to apply a log law to this. We're going to apply a log law. So when we're multiplying the arguments, what are we doing with the laws? When you're expanding them, you're adding. So it's going to be log 6 plus log 5 plus log 2. And this says write it in terms of P, Q, R. So log 6 has a value of P, log 5 has a value of R, and log 2 has a value of Q. So this is what I want for an answer. Easy peasy? Could you have done it? I think you could have. I think you could have. So this, like you just needed to know to break them down into factors, apply the log laws, and then add. Are you okay, Basil? Okay, all right. All right, next one. Sketching the graph. Sketching the graph, the radical graph here. What transformations do I have? What transformations? So we have a reflection in the y-axis. Reflect, y-axis, 1 unit up. Missing 1. Horizontal stretch by a factor of 1/2. So maybe totally do a table of values. There's 2 ways to do this. You could have graphed. No, I don't like that way. Yes, that would be the original. So y equals root x. So what's the table of values for y equals root x? Yeah. Right? That's our original table. So if we were to graph that, it does not. If you graph it, you must label it. Okay, so you need to say that, hey, that's not what I'm looking for. I know that's not what the graph is asking me to do. Okay, so let's do our transformations on the table of values. So what am I timesing all my x's by? Negative 1/2, right? What am I doing to all my y's? I'm adding 1. Sorry, pardon? Oh, you don't have to do this. Is that like you're asking to skip that? Yeah, if you can go right into just the red table, then you don't have to do that. Okay, so we anticipate a reflection in the y-axis. So that's why it's important you know how to visualize, so that when you actually do graph it, you should get those values. 1 and negative 1/2 and 2. And don't forget there's going to be a bubble in between those 2 points, right? Okay, what's next? Negative 2 and 3. Negative 4.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. And so that's my y equals, and I'm going to label 2 points. Are you guys good with that? Okay, exciting stuff. Could you guys have done that one? Easy peasy? Okay, I was like, where did Pablo go? It's too sunny. Too sunny. All right, so all of you could have done that. Guys, that's a 4-mark question. Yeah, how nice is that? So a mark for the shape of the radical function, a mark for the horizontal compression, a mark for the translation, and a mark for the reflection. Okay? So make sure you're slowing down on these 4-mark questions so that you hit them all. Okay, question 30. Justify why the letters of the word France has a greater number of possible arrangements than the letters in the word Canada.
Do we have to make the factorial thing or not?
Well, we have to justify it. So justify means that we can use words or we can use math. So France has no repetitions. The word France has no letters repeat. Okay, so it's good that you guys can identify that, but that's not the reason, why? Why do the letters repeating cause us grief? We have to divide by it, right? So it's going to reduce the number of groups. So we have Canada, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Canada would be 6 factorial, but it would be divided by the A's, which repeat, which would be 3 factorial. France is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But does it have any repeats? So which one's greater? France. So you need, it's not good enough just to say that the A's repeat. You need to tell me why that's a bad thing. Or not a bad thing, just that it will reduce the number of combinations. That's what we're going over right now. Repeats. What do we do with them? We divide. How many letters do you have? Divide by the numbers that repeat. Yep. 2 factorial, but yeah.
So it'd be 5 factorial divided by 2 factorial?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're not going to ask this question. You just said binomial expansion.
I'm not making that promise. I'll tell you the big money will be on the binomial expansions. That will be in your calculator portion. Your binomial expansions will be in your calculator portion.
And then am I just doing the 5, 4, 3, 2?
No, that's yes. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay, are we good with that one? So you have to tell me something about it. This isn't just good enough. That's great that you know that, but you have to tell me something like this. Okay. This is a chapter 9-10er. 9-10er. So f or g of x goes inside f of x. So let's do the equation first. To leave myself enough room. There we go. So that was 10, knowing how to do that. And part B of this is chapter 9 stuff.
So you said leave as factors.
Mm-hmm.
So would I put like 24, choose 4? But then there's 3 missing. So would I do like a subtraction?
Mm-hmm.
So would it be like 24, choose 4, take away?
No.
Or would it be 21, choose 4?
Yeah.
And that's it?
That's it.
Is that what you mean by leave as
Yep.
factors?
I want you to go back and look at that one for a second.
I don't know how to just do that one. It don't make sense.
Why will you turn this by 100?
Because I took out 100. Because I'm not working with
You can't just do that though.
No?
Because that's a abbreviation. You can't just
So then how am I supposed to
do it with the hundreds. You'll be like it goes quick. Try it.
Scouts,
It will. I promise you. I know, but it's when you trust your math, it will work.
Scanlan, I gotta write 100 numbers out.
You don't have to. I promise you.
Then what am I supposed to
Just put it in the formulas, do the division, and see what happens. Okay. Asymptotes. Any points of discontinuities? No points of discontinuity because we didn't cancel anything out. Asymptote's going to be at -3. So my vertical asymptote is the non-permissible value of the denominator. And we are also going to have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0. Pablo, how'd you know that?
Can you ask Ron? I explained to him this before.
Oh, okay. Karan?
I'll put him on the spot.
Why is a horizontal asymptote of y equals 0?
There's no X on top.
Right. So what does that mean though? Those are your 3 rules on that very first page, right? Because the degree of the numerator is smaller than the degree of the denominator. So these come from your rules. All right. Y-intercept. One by 3. What do we know x is when we're looking for the y-intercept? Okay. So now what is our next strategy for this? Pick points on both sides. So if we put in a -1, yeah. When we're looking for the y-intercept, we know that x has a value of 0. There is no x-intercept because we have an asymptote there.
just cancel out?
I know. Trust your math.
And I don't know what this means. I
Okay.
got lines. Yeah.
So you're going to have to either wait until after school and do this with me.
Okay.
Okay? My brain is only, it's frazzled. It's June. I can't be in 2 places. I'd probably pick a -1. If I put -1 in there, where am I? I'm at a half. If I put a negative 2 in there, I'm going to be at positive 1. So we just need to see kind of like that trend. And we know that we are going to approach the asymptotes, but we're never going to touch. If you only graph this, you will not get full marks for this, right? Because that's not the entire graph.
What other points did you pick?
I picked negative 1 and negative 2. So then if I pick negative 3 would be an asymptote, so negative 4. If I put negative 4 in there, I should be at negative 1. If I put a negative 5 in there, I should be at negative 0.5. I don't need a lot of points. I just need something to get this shape. Okay. So I didn't do a table of values, but I am labeling the points. If a table of values helps, please do that. How much is this question worth? 4. Could you do it? You could probably, so 2 4-point questions, you guys have no problem doing.
We have no problem with
I'm not talking about that, Jacob. Not talking about that. Okay. Question 32. I might need some more room to answer this one. It's also a 4-mark question. 3 and 1, right? Okay, so all the hard work comes in part A. So this is the one where we create the pictures. Because if we're using an identity here, do you guys remember that identity right off the top of your head? Sine alpha cos beta minus sine beta times cos alpha. So that's from your formula sheet, right? So you need some information. You know what sine alpha is. That's really nice. So sine alpha is this, and alpha is in quadrant 2. So you're going to draw a picture. There's alpha. So sine, this would be 3. That would be 7. What is x? Root 40. Is it positive or negative? Negative because you're in quadrant 2. Okay, not even going to ask you to simplify it. You can leave it as root 40. So now we're going to move over to beta, and beta's in quadrant 4. So this is going to be 4, that'll be 5, what's y? But it's a negative 3, right? So we know that sine alpha, it's given in the equation that it's 3 over 7. We know that cos alpha, because we need that, is going to be negative root 40 over 7. Sine beta is going to be negative 3 over 5. And cos beta, which was given in the question, is 4 over 5. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, you are 32 questions in. Some of you are going to be emotionally and mentally done with this. I would encourage you to write things down, even if you don't think you need them. Okay? So this one, we're just substituting stuff in. So sine alpha is 3 over 7. Cos beta, so I'm hopping over here, is 4 over 5. Subtract sine beta, which is negative 3 over 5, times negative root 40 over 7. Now remember, you don't have a calculator at this point. Still, the calculator's long gone. Can I combine those roots and the constant together? No, I cannot. No. Are we good with that? Perfect. Okay, so let's talk quickly about where those 3 marks come from. A half mark for the negative 40, a half mark for the negative 3, so there's 1. A half mark for putting in the cos alpha, and a half mark for putting in the sine beta. And that you put it into the right identity. Those are your 3 marks for that one. Okay, so part B. So you've got choice here, right? You guys have choice? I don't know which one's the easy one. I'd probably do one with one trig function in it. That would be what I would do. And I would pick one. So this is of alpha. So I'd pick the cosine with only sine in it. And the reason why I do that is because that one was given to me in the equation. Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay, just give me 2 seconds. 2 sine squared. Okay, go ahead and substitute that in. What color were you? Oh, you're right there, Taylor.
Is that 2 sine squared?
Yeah, 2 sine squared. Alpha. So this is my strategy, is I picked the trig ratio that was given to me in the question. So if I screwed something up over here, I'm not repeating it. Okay, what do I do here? Get the common denominator. So we're going to have 49 over 49 minus 18 over 49. What did we get? No matter which one you use, you will get 31 over 49. Okay, nice easy question, 2 marks. 1 mark for domain, 1 mark for range. And you just graphed a radical graph. Pardon? You want to do it through a log graph? Yeah. You don't have to make the graph. You need to know where this graph starts. Where does that graph start, ladies and gentlemen? 0, 0, right? So the domain for that graph would be 0 to positive infinity, and the range would be 0 to positive infinity. What are we doing?
I was looking at the time. I don't know how to do something.
So you're copying somebody's stuff?
I'm not copying this guy.
So you're taking a picture so you can copy it later?
I compared answers. Wow.
But you have the answer key for these. Holy Hannah. Okay, I'm going back to this. Which way is this graph being shifted? Right. So we're going to move this point to 5. And then we are going one down, so that's going to be shifted one down. No reflections, so we don't have to worry about flip-flopping directions. Okay. Why is 4.7 a better estimate than 4.3 for value log base 226? Put it in exponential form.
Sorry. It's not that loud.
So I obviously can't write 26 as a base 2 number. So what's the closest one I can get to? They're either 32 or 16. 16, right? 2 to the exponent 1 is 2, 2 to the exponent 2 is 4, 2 to the exponent 3 is 8, 2 to the exponent 4 is 16, 2 to the exponent 5 is 32, right? So is 26 closer to 16 or 32? Right? So is it going to be closer to 5 or is it going to be closer to 4? That's why 4.7. So again, justifying is you can use words, you can use math. I don't know. I would probably do this and then say where it's 26 is closer to 32, so your estimate should be closer to 5 than it should be 4. You don't have a calculator at this point, so you got to mathematically reason it out. Okay, chapter 9. It even factored it for you. Life's good. What are we going to do here? So as soon as I cross it out, it's still an MPV. We can't have that, but it's a POD. It's not an asymptote. So we have a point of discontinuity. When x is 2, we need to figure out what our y is.
So MPV is still 2?
Yeah. You always do your NPVs prior to canceling anything out. You're going to have an x-intercept at 0 and at 4. Yeah. So you see why this graph is 2 marks as opposed to a 4-mark graph. Like, you didn't have to factor anything. It was already factored for you. Now it's given you your x-intercepts are already there. What's my y-intercept? We haven't calculated it yet. Okay, so if we want to calculate the POD, where is it? How do we calculate the y value for our POD? Sub in the 2 into the simplified one, right? So we're going to have 4 minus 8. Yeah? What? Oh, sorry, my x-intercept? Thanks. Good thing. Okay, so if I substitute 2 into this equation, I'm going to get negative 4. And that's going to be my point of discontinuity. So I'm going to put that point of discontinuity right on there. Those are my x-intercepts. Yep. Okay, so where's my vertex? So it's a parabola, right? Everybody agrees this is a parabola. So how are you going to find the vertex? Secret formula? So x equals negative b over 2a. Didn't we just find that? When x is equal to 2? So not only is this my point of discontinuity, what else is it? My vertex. So back here, what is, if I'm looking for x-intercepts, what's the value of y? 0. So I'm going to set the equation equal to 0, set each of my factors equal to 0. Those are my x-intercepts. We've done it a million times. Oh, okay. All right. Thanks for getting that for me, Jill. Appreciate it. Okay, so that's that one. So looking for the point of discontinuity, looking for your x-intercepts, looking for shape of a parabola, end behavior, points of discontinuity, those sort of things. Okay, easy peasy, right? Okay, evaluate this. Yeah. So secant is the reciprocal function of what? Cosine. So really what I need to do is I need to find cosine of pi over 6. What's cosine of pi over 6? Okay. What's tan at 7 pi over 6? Where are you at 7 pi over 6? You're in quadrant 3. Right, so I'm in quadrant 3 with this one. So is tan positive or negative? Positive. Jen? Yep. Awesome, thanks. Yeah, so we're going to do sine. Okay, so let's do a positive coterminal angle on this thing. Right, because you're going to add a positive full rotation.
Okay, but if you're switching to cos and sine, would you flip it back at the very end?
I don't know what you're asking me. Because there is no secant and cosecant on the unit circle, so I need to find them.
But are you going to flip it back in the end?
Yeah. Okay, do you guys agree with my positive coterminal angle? 4 pi over 3? Yeah? Okay, all right. So what quadrant am I in at 4 pi over 3? 3 again. So if I do sine of 4 pi over 3, is sine positive or negative in quadrant 3? It's negative. So once I have that information, doing this shouldn't be too scary, but I have to remember I'm dealing with secant. So if cosine was root 3 over 2, what's secant? 2 over root 3. Oh, you don't have to rationalize. Nope. Nope. Oh, are they multiplied? Oh, these two are multiplied. Nice catch. So we're going to have 4 over 3 plus, well, so all super doable without a calculator. There shouldn't be an equal sign because there's no equal sign in the question. And so I would have worked down the page, but I didn't leave myself enough room. Okay, 37, question 37. Can you do this? Yeah? Okay, but it's an equation, right? Sure.
When I'm doing negative code here, do I drop the negative or do I keep it?
You have to drop it. Do your reference.
Roughly.
Yeah. Okay, where do you multiply when there's a reflection on the y-axis? By the x. Nope. It's a 1 mark question, so you're really only getting the mark for the final answer. Yeah, or I probably would have written it this way. Negative f of x equals 3x plus 7. Right, like it would have done the exact same. Oh, you can't see that. That's what I would have done if it was a reflection in the x. But really, the only thing I would have cared about is that final answer. So how you chose to write it would be fine. Okay, question 38. Okay, all asymptotes. All asymptotes. That includes horizontal and vertical. Yes, horizontal asymptote. So we need to be very careful. It's not a non-permissible value. It's the equation of the asymptote. So it's x equals 3, because that's the equation of that asymptote. Now you need to, so that's your vertical asymptote. What's your horizontal? Nope. Y equals 2. Why? It's the rules. So when the degrees are the same, top and bottom, it's the leading coefficients divided out. If you do not put it as an equation, that is completely wrong. So if you just wrote vertical asymptote is 3, it's incorrect. Like you don't get a mark for that because it needs to be an equation. Horizontal asymptote is 2. Again, no marks for that. This question's pretty straightforward. 1 mark for each. Look at this. Question number 39. It gives you what the factor is. Wow. So what are you going to do with this? You're going to do the box. You're going to divide. Go. Synthetic division. So this one's already been solved for you. So I hope y'all are putting 2 on the outside. What am I missing in this one? I got to put in a 0 for the x's. So a little bit of a trick here. If you miss that, that's going to cause you a problem. And if you don't get a 0 on the end, you know you've done something wrong. That might be the thing that twigs you to missing that 0 there. We're adding them. Now, this question doesn't ask us to factor fully. It asks us to find the other zeros of the function. To write it in? So, oh, okay, so that would be, no. Like, Pablo, that would be the form. But this question is asking for the zeros of the function. So we have a 0 at 2, because that was given to us, and we have a 0 at -4. Is that going to cut, bounce, or drag? It's going to be a bounce. Doesn't ask that, but that's good to know. Okay, can you graph this? So what graph is your base graph? Base 2, so it would just be y equals 2 to the exponent x if you were doing transformations. So what's happening transformation-wise? So we're going to reflect in the x-axis because it's happening to our y's. Reflect in the x-axis, then what else is happening? We're going to go 2 up. Anything else happening? Nothing else? Nope. Because it's a base 2. So this is an exponential graph. So do you guys remember the shape? Do you guys remember where your asymptotes are? So you guys are going to have a horizontal asymptote at y equals 0 on this graph here. So you know that exponential graphs have horizontal asymptotes. Logarithmic graphs have the vertical asymptotes. Okay, go ahead and graph it. You can do a table if you want. I might just do transformations. So where's my asymptote going to be? If it was at 0 and you said go 2 up, my asymptote's also going to go 2 up. I want you to do this over. Okay?
Do I just take points on both sides?
Your points will only ever be on one side, but you can pick both and you can see. You're picking x's, so there's nothing that divides. Like you're picking your x's, so there's no sides on the x. Pick any x that you want. Make a table of values.
I did this one. But do I have to do cases for these?
Yeah.
Is this greater than?
Okay, but why is this 4 here? So why are these 2 4? Tell me your reasoning behind that. Like, why did you put a restriction on here? Because there's 5 digits, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
So why is there a restriction on that first one?
So you have to take the third.
If you do any of them as one.
But how many do you have to choose from on that first spot? 5. There's no restrictions on this one. And then you'll have restrictions in part B. Because you'll have cases. Right? Start with, so this is the way I did it. We're starting with 4. This will be a restriction on the first one. That will lead to restrictions on your second. Like, I'm talking cases now.
Yeah.
And then in your second case, what can the first numbers be? Because they definitely can't be 1. Right? Because it has to be greater than 47. So go back and fix that one first. And then do your first case with the first digit being a 4. What does the second digit have to be? It has to be greater than 47. So if you used 4, can it be a 1? Can it be a 5?
I can refuse. Okay.
Greater than. So what has to go here?
Oh my god.
8 or 9, right? So I only have 1 and 4. I've got 2 choices here. I pick two numbers. How many numbers do I have left over? Okay, next case. There's 3 options on that one. Any restrictions anywhere else? Starts with a 5. Is it greater than 47? So that'd be 5,000, 8,000, 9,000, right? So there's no restrictions. So if I picked one number, how many do I have left to choose from? Right? There you go. Okay. Am I just doing a straight table of values? I'm not doing transformations? Sure. Okay, so if I'm substituting these into here, if I put -2 in here, that would make my base 1/4. 1/4 times by the negative out front is a -1/4 plus 2 would be 1 3/4. So 2 to the exponent 0 is, but you have that negative out front, so it becomes a -1. Because if I wanted it in the brackets, there would have been brackets around it. So this, I would put it in like negative, and then 2 to the exponent 0 plus 2.
Oh.
So go ahead and graph it.
Where's the picture of me? Who's back? Secure, did you take that picture on your phone? Yeah, got it. Send it to me.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So given the function f of 2, why is it undefined? So justify is nice because you can use math. You can use math to do it. So I would start here and I would evaluate this. So what is f of 2?
0.
I am recording. So we're going to replace f of 2 with a 0, because that's what f of 2 evaluates. So then we're going to have f of 0. Do we see the problem?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we just leave it, or do we have to actually justify it?
You're going to have to say anything divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, one more question. Of course, it's a chapter 5. That's what we like to do. Oh, do you need the other one? Sorry. What did they say for the exact? Okay, one last question. We're going to do an equation for sinusoidal graph. Dig deep. Okay, what's going to kill you on this is that you have to use the variables that were given in the equation.
No.
Yeah. V and T. Do we want to do a sine graph or a cosine graph? Why? Okay, because Nicole said so. Where does my graph start on a sine? Median. Where does this graph start? It's also at a median. Okay, so we need to calculate. We need to calculate the amplitude, the period, any shifts. We know that there's no shifts on this one, so the C is definitely 0. Okay, what's the amplitude? How'd you figure that out? Okay, so that's 4, right? And your max occurs at 6. So amplitude is 2, because that's the difference between 4 and 6. What is our median? 4. Let's talk about our period. Pardon? Median is... Period equals 2 pi divided by b. Period is 8. So to find the b, it's going to be the period. No. Let's try this again. Okay, so now we're going to put that all together, and we said our shift, our horizontal shift, there was none. And Nicole said we have to do a sine graph, because sine graph starts at medians, and this graph starts at a median. So none if we're using a sine graph. If we're using a cosine graph, then there'll be a shift. So this would be 2 sine pi over 4 times t plus 4. You want to do a cosine graph? Okay. No, you can't go. Ladies and gentlemen, my goal for tomorrow is to continue with this unless you guys are bringing me questions.